Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, welcome to this pasty-tastic set of 4 battle reports, all in video, all the way from the West Country of England, and strangely enough, being recorded in Greece, which is weirdly appropriate, as this was a battle in which pasties were eaten, and the Alexandrian Macedonian army was the one that I was driving. So there's certainly a Greek-ish link there, depending on what your politics is. I'm always very careful to keep my voice down here in Greece talking about things like that. But let's crack on and start with the first game, in which case the Alexandrian army, that I was using a 28mm, glorious widescreen 28mm, took on a Warring States Chinese army. And here is the very first setup for this incredibly well-trailed 28mm, nearly all Victrix, self-assembled, painted Alexandrian stroke, successor stroke, any old kind of pikey type Greek army that you wish to face against a Warring States army that has got those deadly chariots in the middle and 2 huge blocks of infantry on either flank of it. There's some interesting terrain here. For once, the terrain has fallen in such a way that gives us both a bit of a challenge. There's a gentle hill, it looks like mine, one that I've deployed that's ended up in Steve's side of the table. Bit of a plantation there allows them to stick some sort of ambush. Bit of a field here that creates a little bit of a problem for me throwing my pikemen straight down the middle, as they're not great in a field, and okay, they can get out of it. I'm almost certainly on the attack in this game, but it means that that first move is just a little bit slower, possibly that second move as well. And actually, in a lot of ways, it's a fairly open board, which creates a bit of a challenge for what, as you can see, is quite a small army on my part. This is a standard 28mm table, which is the same number of base widths in each dimension as the 15mm table. The game should play exactly the same, but the toys are bigger and nicer. And you can see that the way my army's been put together is this is the big command, a block of pikemen, a couple of Thracians in there, a medium spearman and a javelinman, and then there's one companion impact cavalry and a light horse with javelin. Over on this side, I've got a more kind of straight in your face pike command. It's got a couple of pikemen there, a Thracian, I think that may be another spearman actually, yeah, probably another spearman there, and that might be the armoured one, and an elephant as well, and a couple of light infantry to screen it, light infantry there, and the proper companions, of which there's, I think it's 2 companions, 1 heavy cavalryman, a couple of light horse. The cavalry wing is over there because clearly this was going to be big open space, and it looks like the Chinese have gone, say, chariots down the middle, block of infantry here. There may be a mix of sort of pole arm and spear and sword and all sorts. Some medium foot here who these guys must be licking their lips for. And then there's a big old command here on top of this hill. They're going to have to chug their way through this bit of terrain as well. My aim is very much to get these 2 commands joined up and kind of get them in here, try and run over. Now I've found that there's medium foot there and not some huge wodge of cavalry. I really want to run those guys over, join these 2 up, create a kind of fight here and hold this lot off. I am going to have to deal with these heavy chariots, but if I can get the pikemen together into them, that's pretty good. It does leave me a little bit thin in terms of fighting this lot though, so whether that will actually work out, I'm not sure. And these guys just have to sort of skirmish and get around it. So it is that usual thing, try and neutralize the enemy's best troops with my ideal counter to it, run them over quickly with a swift flank attack, and do that kind of Alexander thing of lead with the companions, use the pikemen as an anvil. So let's have a look at this list in a bit more detail for the opposition. So 4 heavy chariot impact elite, 2 light infantry bow, gives them a bit of screening from shooting. And then let's have a look what these guys are. Actually, yeah, this is the proper real deal, isn't it? These are very dangerous troops. They're effectively Chinese flavoured Roman infantry, heavy swordsman impact elite, and then 2 medium swordsman impact elite with support and a medium swordsman impact. That's really very pokey indeed, and 1 light infantry javelin. And then here you've got a couple of cavalry, a couple of bowmen who are a bit poor quality, 3 heavy swordsman impact. They're still solid, but at least they're not the elite versions of it. So that's a very tough army. It's not huge, but it can punch very hard. And here we go. You can see my army coming forward. This is actually a resin elephant with a couple of Aventine metal crew jammed on the top of it. Comes from Decisive Studios. It's a really nice model actually. There's some stuff on it. I painted it about 2 years ago. If you dig back on the blog, you'll be able to see it. And you can see these must be the elite spearmen that I've got in my army. I think these heads, these are all Victrix figures pretty much. These heads are probably from the Roman crew for the elephant, which I've not painted up yet, the Victrix elephant. These are sort of self-made Thracians with some cloaks from a variety of different pieces. They've got a mix of javelins and other weapons and swords. And then here are the phalanx. This is the multicolored phalanx, and that's the slightly better looking one. And over here you can see cloaks flowing in the wind. The companions have a huge empty space to run into, and that's exactly what they're doing. These guys are going to aim for this end of the line, which will give the companions a huge overlap here to really clatter into these loose formation foot who don't really want to be fighting these guys in the open at all. So let's see what we've got over here on the other side. Yeah, this is the command with the cavalry, the bowmen, that third command that came out. I'm trying to delay it. These guys, the two light horse or the light horse unit with javelins has become a target for the bowmen and the enemy cavalry, but draw them all over there. They're a long way away. This guy's still hanging back. There's quite a lot for this commander to do in terms of command and control. They may just not even have got enough pips to start moving. The heavy impact infantry are coming for the Thracians, and the pikemen have, as you can see, here's the corner of the terrain. They've started to drift across. So what's this starting to look like now? You're seeing this lot have split up, which is not bad actually for me. They've left some heavy infantry in the medium foot over there. They've got three of the, presumably the very good heavy infantry here, and the chariots. And I'm still struggling to kind of work out what to do here, because do I want to send them all to help run this over quickly? Do I just want to hit the end of the line? I think I'm at a situation here in which joining these up is too late, and actually these are really dangerous. So hitting them on the end of the line, hitting them here, and letting the guys in the middle just sort of play about a bit is probably better than trying to join up, because otherwise I'll end up fighting with these and I'll pull my flank too far away from there, and I won't really have enough to run these guys over either. So minimize that wing, block these guys off, and really kind of try and exploit this gap here, I think. And yeah, this is it. So my elephants have sort of swung in, the Death Star is getting ready to aim for that gap, and the companions have drifted across and are teeing themselves up on these medium infantry. They have got support, so it's not straightforward, but these guys are starting to get in a position to go around the back. There's not a lot that this unit can do. In some ways that might have been better with one or two cavalry just to protect them in situations like this, but let's see what happens. And then over here, a solid line of pretty nasty stuff, but the chariots don't want to face pike. They do want to face this lot. The pikemen don't really want to face elite impact foot, but they're not bad against it. So and these guys are starting to come forward. So it looks like the Thracians are out of shot there. Here they are. Yeah, this is a slightly different shot, and it appears that the companions on this side have decided that discretion is the better part of valor, or actually they're going to be needed as a reserve, because it looks like I'm going to end up with a bit of a weak patch here, and the companions may have to come in as a sweeper and do a bit of backstop stuff. The Thracians are pretty much outnumbered. These guys are running away from the archery fire, but we're just keeping these out of the game really for as long as we can. Try and get into combat quickly in the middle. So here we go. The chariots have kind of rolled forwards, and this is not ideal, but this is ideal. Pikemen against these guys. Looks like I've got an overlap here with the light infantry. They've come back up to be an overlap. These are javelinmen. They're probably going to run away if they shoot or not. These are spearmen. They're going to have to be lucky, and there's a bit more chariotry than I probably want here. But it's all about this bit really. The pikemen and the elephant and the Thracians have got into these swordsmen, and it's really going to be a bit of a grind. Here you've got those into the other ones, and you can see there the companions have hit the squishy medium foot, which they hopefully can go through reasonably quickly. And yes, this is that sort of curved, refused flank. The cavalry are starting to come through. Bowmen have actually probably given up chasing my light horse. They're starting to join in as well. And the chariots, in two minds, not really sure they want to do it. There's a little bit of desultory shooting between these two groups of skirmishers. If anybody can do any hits on anyone, that starts to give them advantage. But this is going to have to start resolving soon. And we're kind of forcing these chariots to sort of poop or get off the pot, really. And here we go, first round of combat. The cool veteran pikemen with all their massive different helmets and hats, all sorts of things, have actually recorded a pretty big 6-1 straight out the box in their first ever combat, which is fabulous. done a lot of damage to these guys behind them, knocking a decent hole in. That suddenly puts a lot of pressure on this chariot because they suddenly look very, very flaky with some big hits against them. Although being elite and having rear support, that does mitigate those hits quite substantially. So here we go. The companions have gone straight through some of these guys. They've done some pretty serious damage to them. The elephants with support against a lone unit, of course, that's done very well as well. So this side of the Chinese flank is really falling apart quite quickly. The question will be how quickly will they get back into the middle once this is all done. And you can see the light horse coming into Harry, give extra support as well. This should be very, very decisive, especially with an included general leading the line. And yep, there's the pile of the dead. There's another one goes down. They're taking hits as well. This guy looks like he's on red. So this wing has almost been wiped out within a couple of rounds of combat from the initial starting point, even though the elephant looks like it's taken a hit as well. So here you can see Alexander, or whichever one of his generals it is leading the two companions back. These guys have just coordinated. That's a normal cavalryman to finish them off. The elephant has finished off the guy as well. But it looks like there's a bit of a desperate struggle going on here. Some red markers must be serious hits on those guys. Thracians, overlap, light infantry rushing around the back to do naughty light infantry stuff. But the pikemen are starting to take hits as well. So the all-important stuff is what's happening in the middle with the chariots. And it looks like the chariots have just wiped out the median spearmen, as you might expect they would at first contact. I suspect the gentlemen have run away, and that companion has arrived just in the nick of time to try to block these guys off. He doesn't want to charge in. He wants to let them charge him, because that just buys an extra couple of turns for the pikemen to grind away over here or face these guys off, and a bit of extra time for these pikemen to hopefully win and rejoin the battle. And now it looks over there that it's starting to run out of time. The Thracians try and hold up these impact foot. Looks like one of them's exploded on contact as well, because these are pretty serious pseudo-Roman legionary troops. This Thracian's holding them up okay, but if once he goes, there's just a whole disaster waiting to happen. And with infantry in the flank, those chariots would just run straight over my pikemen. So here we go. The chariots have stepped forward. They've hit the other companion. He's taken hits. These ones still haven't dared go into the pike, but they don't really need to with winning happening here. In fact, the bowmen who'd given up chasing my light horse have now come in and are going to be the people who wipe out and finish off the Thracians. This struggle is still going on. That red mark has been there for a long time, but these elite pseudo-legionary infantry are hanging on against the pikemen, and it's still hanging on. They're by the skin of their teeth. It looks like they're even recovering some hits. Yellow must be 2, red must be 3, but all of my guys are now taking hits as well. These guys are just refusing to die. They're doing the bit for the Emperor and his underground army. They will probably get made into big terracotta guys that are about 8 feet tall, I suspect, for their heroics here. And let's have a look. So yes, the companion clearly didn't stand very long at all, and these chariots just burst out in a starburst of attacks. They swing out into the flank. This one, I think, is actually where this square base is. The chariot base is longer than it should be, because chariot bases just don't fit on 60 by 60 at all. But there's a great little proviso in the ADLG rules that says because you've got bases that fit the figures, it doesn't work, just drop in a normal base and count them as is. So these guys are actually there. They've gone into the flank of my pike. The really resolute guys are in the front. The pikemen are just suddenly having a complete nightmare, even though it looks like one of these has actually now gone through and stepped forward, probably to try and get out of the way, because it looks like that's a companion who's come in and hit them from rear. That's the only way to finish them off. And keep a note of these injured light infantry. I think the Agrianians, they're making a beeline for the camp because everybody else is busy and they're just sneaking off through that forest of pikes. And here, what an absolutely fantastic mess this is, isn't it? It's like the embattled Chinese infantry fighting desperately against the big Romphers of the Thracians, while suddenly, whoomp, in from the flank comes, cloaks flowing, crests in the wind, the manes, all these little sort of, whatever it is, animal skin hides and things, and slam into the flank of them, slam into the back of them. Suddenly the Chinese will to fight over here just collapses. But equally, there's a lot of problems here for my pikemen, and there's a lot of problems facing up for my other pikemen here as well. So look, you've got this, you've got the other chariot going into the flank here. You've got all sorts of things. You've got the bowmen that just swept all the way through and are into the flank here. That does allow these chariots to charge forward. If there's someone in the flank, that stops all of these pikemen getting their first round bonuses against charging cavalry. Suddenly makes them very easy pickings for these elite impact cavalry indeed to kind of come forward. So yeah, the elephants even just charging on in the background as well. So good oomph, yes. These guys are the only ones left. The chariots have gone straight through. They've eaten them up. These guys are absolutely being crushed. This general will soon only have these couple of slightly weirdly haircutted slingers to deal with as his own command. He will be wiped out pretty quickly. So it's all really going nip and tuck. The flanks have collapsed for the Chinese, but the centre is collapsing for the Macedonians. And again, Budum, this guy who's been fighting heroically. He's been on 3 hits almost since the very first time he was hit by a pike phalanx, but he's hung on. He's hung on those 3 hits, and the chariots have got the pikemen in the flank, and suddenly the tide is turning. Whilst everything over this side of the border has been wiped out for the Chinese, everything in the centre for the Alexandrians has been wiped out as well. So here we are, super in battle. The pikemen turn about, get ready to try and face this chariot that is just chugging along. More companions still flooding in, slamming into the chariot. Everybody is fighting in a massive confused mass as the two, punch through the middle versus it trying to fold in the flanks. Those two different tactics are just coming back to bite each other in a real head-up fight, which is also, as always, quite good advertising for LBMS shield transfers. And boom, one of the chariots is evaporated, but there's still plenty more of them. There's still 3 of them rumbling around the middle of the battlefield, and there's almost nothing there, as you can see over on that side, probably nothing left. But there it is, there's nothing left apart from this scared little javelinman who ran away a long time ago and is now carrying on running as these archers keep trying to shoot him. And so let's have a see. But ta-da! The light infantry, the Agrianians, have managed to find their way to the Chinese camp, and they've nicked it. They've run in at the end and just captured the camp. And that's the decisive moment which suddenly tips the battle in favour of Alexander. And look, it's a pasty flying in space to celebrate the very first outing for the Alexandrian Macedonians against the warring states Chinese.
Hello and welcome to the latest Madaxeman.com Army List ADLG podcast, in which I'm joined by Rick.